What's going on, y'all? It's your boy GP, and you're rocking with me on the Aqua Method Podcast. And today I have a very, very, very special guest. I got Mr. Tim, the owner, founder, and master of Dino's Pizza here in Lafayette, Louisiana. What's going on, Mr. Tim?
Good, man. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Man, I really appreciate you doing the interview. It means a lot to me. I am a frequent customer here at Dino's, and I just wanted to talk to the man, the myth, the legend, about the founding of Dino's and like where they all come from and all that stuff. So, what's the origin of Dino's Pizza?
Dino's goes back. You misspoke when you said founder. I'm second generation. That's okay. My dad, Dean, is where Dino's come from.
Okay.
He started in Santa Barbara, California in the 60s.
Okay.
Early 60s, like 1960. We spent 11 years there perfecting our pizza, but he was raising a family and didn't think the environment was right for a family to be raised. During the late 60s, you got to remember the Vietnam marches, Charles Manson, a lot of things going on, anti-family in that southern part of California. So he did not like the cold winters and came to Louisiana for a visit and fell in love. We opened up in December of 1971 on Bertrand at this location, and we've been operating continuously since. I took over in the early 80s.
Okay.
And have been at the helm since, and it won't be much longer when my son Greg, the heir apparent, will take over, so we're morphing into the third generation. He runs the Kali Saloon store right now.
Okay. So what, like you said, it took 11 years to develop the pizza. What did it take to develop the pizza? Like, what was the trial and the error?
Well, he developed, mainly was the crust, the base, the crust, the sauce, the blend of cheese. Mm-hmm. And when we came to Louisiana at that point, we were more of a pizzeria. It was traditional pepperoni, sausage, mushrooms, olives, bell peppers, onions. Right. So when I started taking over, I knew to grow the business, we had to find something different. We just couldn't be the same pizzeria in the competition. So that's when we started putting the local items. We brought in the sausages, we brought in the shrimp, and then we started cooking our own toppings, the blue laveau, the shrimp dino, the crawfish aladino, Cajun executioner, all these andouilles, and everything came together, and we hit a home run with it, and it's one of the best things we ever did. And then the menu expanded to pastas and po' boys and salads, and we became from a pizzeria, a traditional pizzeria, to a great restaurant that serves fantastic pizza. So
now you said it started in California.
That is correct.
And y'all moved here in
1971, December of 1971.
How old were you?
I was 11 years old.
Okay, what was the biggest like culture shock coming from California to
man, I was a little surfer
Louisiana?
boy. I was a little surfer boy. Lived in the city, and then we came to Louisiana in the country, and it was quite a culture shock. Just different mannerisms, school was different. Everything was different, but I embraced it. I was young enough. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the country life. I was able to get a mini bike, saved up enough money to get a mini bike. And we had horses and cows and sheep and chickens. And, to me, it was good. I was the youngest of four. The other siblings didn't care for it as much.
Okay.
They were more, in their teen years. Mm-hmm. I was still just an 11-year-old kid. Right. So it was cool. I was open for the experience. So it worked for me.
Okay. And you're the current head of Dino's. Is that safe to say?
CEO. Right.
Why would your older siblings not be a part of it? I mean, I'm sure they are a part of it, but
no, they're not. They chose not to. I have one sister that isn't. She is a part owner, but she's not active.
Okay.
The other ones chose not to participate and did their own things.
Okay. Oh. What would you say was the hardest part of the transition? What was the most difficult part?
In the early 80s, when we're going through a little oil downturn right now, and we know how to handle it. But during the early 80s, it was new to us, and it was a very rough time when overnight your business gets cut in half. Mm-hmm. Louisiana, Lafayette, more specifically, was totally based on the energy industry, and when it went away, the whole town suffered. It would turn into a ghost town. It was scary. Laid off most of the crew, rented ourselves, and that's when we really started pushing the Cajun items on the pizza to differentiate ourselves from our competition.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and at the time, because you don't have a crew 80 hours a week, I had a couch here and I spent a lot of time sleeping here. We all did. We all pitched in and made it happen. It was tough. It was tough, but it's paid the dividends, and life is good now. So.
How does it feel to have something to be the CEO and the big guy in charge of something that's this important to Lafayette?
It's flattering, even that you say that it's important to Lafayette. It's flattering, enjoyable to see the fruits of your labor come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it's a responsibility with over 200 employees between the two Dinos.
Yeah.
I can make a bad decision. It can cost a lot of people their jobs. And so it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
At times. You just can't goof off and just, you still have to grow the business. You still have to think progressively. The new laws coming in, the health care, a lot of thought goes into that to make sure that the employees are well taken care of, because the Dino's philosophy, we can always buy a new oven if it breaks. We can buy a new microwave, but just finding these new key employees is hard. So we protect them. We take care of them.
Finding talent is hard. Is what you're saying. So, what do you do to find the best talent? Because it seems like everybody here knows everybody, and it feels like they came up organically.
We do. We don't hire a lot of management out of the company, but we are a family restaurant internally and externally. We cater to families, but we're one big family working together. And we try to, if we get an employee, we put in a rock star status. Usually rock stars hang out together, but we try to find, if you're a rock star, who are your friends? Who would you like to work with? Who could you count on?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Who's going to have your back when you're mad in the rush? And that's what it works. So.
And that's cool. If y'all don't know Mr. Tim, let me tell you, Mr. Tim is a very friendly guy, and he'll sit down and talk with you. Obviously, he's doing this podcast with me, and I really appreciate it. I met Mr. Tim about 3 years ago. I had lost my job. I was working at the movie theater. I had just lost my job, so I was out of work, and I had been out of work for maybe a month and a half. And I was sitting at Dino's with the last few dollars I had, enjoying one of his delicious pizzas, and he just happened to be there, and he just started talking with me, and I'm like, Mr. Tim, I'm looking for a job, and what can I do at Dino's? And he said, you can be a busboy, and I don't know if you had a hand in my hiring, but I eventually worked at Dino's, the other location on Cali Saloon, and I was a busboy, and it was a good time. It was cool being a part of the restaurant business. What would you say is the most important? What would you say was the most interesting thing about being part of the restaurant business?
Well,
the people, or
it's the people. For most people, for me or as an employee, for
you,
me,
yeah,
it's the people, customers and employees, and the customers I get to stay in touch with, like high school classmates and college classmates and friends you meet out of. Kind of the wheelhouse. They all end up here sooner or later, and I get to see them quite often. So that's nice, dealing with the people. And then for the employees, I get to watch them grow up. They usually start here as their first job, and they embrace it. And then they work here through high school, through college, and then they probably leave me after college. Some stay, some leave, and then they come back in, and they got families. I get to watch their family grow.
Right.
One of my dad's first managers was Jerry Trumps. He was a city councilman for a while, and he actually met his first wife here, and they had children. And then their children came to work for me, and their children met their wives through the restaurant.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm trying to have them have children so we can go into the third generation. Yeah. So it's interesting. The whole thing's interesting. You've got to love the restaurant business to make it happen, because sometimes, as interesting as it can be, sometimes you just want to bang your head against the wall.
Right.
It can be a problem, but the good definitely outweighs the bad.
What are some of those situations? Is it just finances, or is it personnel, or what makes?
Finances. You know, when it seems like when it rains, it pours. You're gonna have a Friday lunch where you're gonna have some staff that's gonna be late. Your delivery truck's gonna come in late, and when it comes in, the produce is gonna be bad.
Right.
Yeah, when you're not ready for a rush, you got 3 sick ends on the floor, and you know, you got people pulling doubles. You'll be the busiest, I promise you. When you're ready and you're overstaffed, you never get busy.
Right.
So that's the frustrating part. Is take this last weekend, for instance.
Okay.
UL's homecoming.
Okay. Yep,
also Halloween.
Also Halloween.
Everything's in our wheel. Perfect storm. LSU's not even playing. Nothing's on the wheelhouse.
Right.
What happens? We get 4 inches of rain. It just
Right.
It just killed us. We're overstaffed, and it just didn't come.
Everybody's twiddling their thumbs.
That's right. So you got to learn. You got to learn to ride the storm. So.
Yeah. They say running any business is difficult, but running a restaurant is especially difficult.
Right.
Like a lot of people open restaurants thinking it's going to be easy, or it's going to be an easy cash grab, but it's really, really difficult.
It's tough. It's 8 out of 10 independent restaurants close within the first 2 years. That's 8 out of 10. You really put that in perspective. Only 7 out of 10 attempts to climb Mount Everest without oxygen.
Right.
So you could say that running a successful restaurant is harder than climbing Mount Everest. So that'll put it in perspective for you.
When you is the Dinos that Mr. Dean made, is it still the same pretty much, or did you do something to change it up to make it your own?
We've all changed. You got to keep up with the times. So,
Okay.
But the base pizza, the product, is the same.
Okay.
We've tweaked it slightly to keep up with the time. But the base product, the dough, we still roll it, sheet it the same way. We just use more modern equipment. The sauce, pizza sauce, it's still the same. It's tomatoes, water, and spice. So this whole thing before natural, organic stuff come out, we were already there.
Yeah,
we weren't using refined sugar in our sauces. We weren't using any fillers, and we have no trans fats already. People go trans fat free. We've been there already. It's already, not 100% organic. It's natural food. We use very, 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 very little processed food in the industry at all, in the restaurant.
What would you say was the most noticeable change from then to now? Except just the technology, or
no, that was a pizzeria, and Dad only opened at night. He had it made. He opened over at night. He had pizza and beer and soft drinks.
Right.
So that it was the KISS plan. It was keep it simple, stupid, and his philosophy was to open a bunch of units. At one time he had 5 in California. So that was the philosophy everybody had. That you open a bunch of units. They don't gross a lot per unit.
Right.
And then my philosophy came in and said, man, each unit you had, I watched Dad always on the road. I'm going to Santa Barbara, going to Lompoc, going to LA, going to Bakersfield. And he was always on the road, and he had a headache at every store. And I'm like, wow,
man.
why don't we just do this? Why don't we just make one big store and have? If I'm going to have a headache, small headache, big headache, what's the difference? But at least I'm going to be on top of it.
Right.
So my philosophy was, let's make this restaurant. We went from 4,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet.
Okay.
So we opened lunches, and we started putting all these other items on the menu, and so again, it transitioned from a nighttime pizzeria to a full-service restaurant that has the best pizza on earth, in my opinion.
That's Mr. Tim's cell phone going off. Mr. Tim is a very busy man. I mean, as you would have to be, obviously. I think about business people and entrepreneurs and people who run their careers, who run their business. They're their own boss. They might have employees that they have to take care of and stuff like that. I imagine that you get a lot of phone calls from people that you would otherwise rather not talk to. You know what I mean? No?
Well, you get the scam artists.
Okay.
Those are the only people I don't want to talk. I'll talk to anybody, and I try to put my heart out there. But we get a lot of requests. We try to give back to the community. We get a lot of requests, and it hurts when we have to say no. And some people get upset about it. But Glenn, we probably get 15 to 20 requests a week for help and donations for charities, and you can't do them all. You can't do them all. So we try to pick what we can, and it's just sometimes we run out of money. We run on a budget. My employees need help from time to time, and sometimes I've been burned by the employees. You know, they left me owing me money or whatever, but it doesn't stop me from helping people. You know, I've been fortunate, I've been blessed, so we try to get back.
Yeah.
We try to help.
And you said scam artists. Like, what type of scam artists? Like,
I had one call the other day. He said I was behind on my utility bill. I had to give him my credit card number right.
Oh, okay.
Bill. And that and credit card processing. Trying to get 2 calls a day for people trying to take over our credit card processing, and they can't save you money. And there's a lot of money in credit card processing. My wife is the expert at it. She knows more than the people that are on the phone with me. I just don't have time to talk to them they try to hold you up for an hour at a time, trying to get you to convert to their credit card processing, and it's basically it's a scam. It'll cost you more money than it's worth.
Do you think that is part of the reason a lot of restaurants fail, or?
A lot of them do. But what they'll do is these companies will give them money up front, and then they'll take their credit card processing on the back end, but they're charging them. Because if they don't call it a loan, they're not. The government doesn't control them, so they'll take 20 to 30% interest rate on it. Well, the profit margin in a restaurant is not 20 or 30%, so you're upside down before you even open the doors.
Wow, okay.
So yes, it is a lot. People go into restaurants and they don't have enough funding to keep the restaurant open for long enough till they become profitable.
Make money, yeah.
Right. And if you say, well, I'm just going to borrow on the credit card or turn my processing over to somebody and pay these exorbitant rates, it's a losing proposition from the get-go. It just won't happen.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, like, did you go to school for owning a entrepreneurship?
No, actually, I was an engineering student. I'm just a few hours short of an engineering degree.
Oh, yeah?
I just grew up in the pizza business and blessed with a little bit of business sense and learned from some really good people, my dad being, the foremost in it. Spent a lot of time in the Restaurant Association. Was the youngest president ever for the Acadiana Restaurant Association.
All right.
So I learned from some of the best restaurant tours in town, and then I watched some of the guys that didn't know what the heck they were doing.
Really?
So you learn what to do and what not to do.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. What was the biggest thing that your dad taught you?
How to make a damn good pizza was probably the most important thing. But he also taught me how to, to pay your bills and to run a business properly. Not leverage yourself out too far. Putting money back into the business. Just how to run a good business.
What would you say? Would you say that you've met a lot of crooked restaurateurs? Or?
Not crooked, naive.
Okay.
People that here's the deal. Most people come to me and say, "Man, I want to open a restaurant." I said, "Well, why do you want to open a restaurant?" "Well, I'm a really good cook." "Well, then you should cook in a restaurant." "No, I want to own a restaurant." Well, if you spend all your time cooking, your restaurant's not going to work properly because you need to be that multitasking entrepreneur that can go back in the kitchen and make sure the line's running good, and then go up front and make sure the service is great, and go talk to your customers and make sure you go in the back of the house and make sure your bills are paid. And if you're not good at all of those, you probably shouldn't be in the restaurant business. The old saying goes, how do you make a small fortune in the restaurant business? You start with a big one. So there's a lot of people come to me often. I want you to consult for me. I'm like, what do you want to do? I want to open a restaurant. A guy came the other day, said, I got $1 million cash. I want to open a restaurant.
Okay.
I said, write me a check for $50. He goes, why? That's your fee? He goes, no, because I'm going to save you $950,000. You just thought I'm going to talk you out of it. And of course, he didn't write me the check, and I didn't really ask him for it. But yeah, it's a lot of it. It's hard work. It's getting harder and harder all the time. I feel sorry for the young entrepreneurs that want to do it because they are so expensive to open anymore. Banks won't touch. When banks won't touch restaurants, you know something's not right.
Okay.
If I want to open a restaurant, they might touch me because I have a track record. But if you're just coming in, you can be the greatest chef in the world, the next, Emerald Lagasse, and the bank's not going to touch you. They don't take that into consideration.
So it's harder now to open a restaurant than ever before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Business. I think business in general, I don't know about all the business, but restaurants for sure. Going to a bank, they laugh at you.
Oh, yeah?
They'll laugh at you. You want to open a what? Yeah. The bank's the one, nothing to do with restaurant equipment. You buy it at 100%. 6 months later, it's worse than a car. Maybe worth 25 cents on the dollar if you can sell it in the bank. It wants nothing to do with used restaurant equipment. And that's your only collateral.
Wow, okay. Wow.
It's tough.
Did you ever the thing that about Dino's that I personally like, and I'm sure a lot of people like, is that it's not a chain and it's not no big corporation, and you know that it comes like everything that it's made is coming from the heart,
Right.
and you really care about the product. You know, it's not like a bunch of franchisees that are just there for a check and stuff like that.
Right.
And like you said, it's all natural and it's all real food that people are eating.
Right.
If you leave it out, it'll go bad. You
That's
know?
right. That's right. Yeah. It's not that French fry you get from the fast
Right.
food chain that looks the same 6 months later.
Right,
and you
right,
find
right.
it on the floorboard of your car. Yeah.
But was there ever any desire to be like a franchise and have like a Dino's in Beijing or something like that?
No, I never wanted it. And people have asked me, sell me a franchise. Well, you know, franchises, there's a lot of due diligence that goes into franchise, and I would feel responsible if I took someone's money and felt that they needed to make a living learning on it.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I never wanted to be that franchise. We went to a pizza convention one year, and everybody in the room stood up. There was probably 20 of us. 19 stood up and said, yeah, I want to have, 20 stores. I want to have 21 stores. Average pizza restaurant makes a little under $1 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to have 20 stores doing that. And I stood up and I said, I want to have one store doing $5 million a year. They said, you're crazy. I'm like, how come I be crazy and you can't all have
Right.
that many stores? How come
Right.
How come your dream's not crazy and mine's crazy just because it's different than everybody else's dream? And I've come a lot closer to my dream
Yeah.
than they have to theirs, most of the guys that I stayed in touch with. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, no, then, walking to the dance to the beat of a different drummer or whatever has been my forte, and it's worked good for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the biggest difference between independent restaurants, family-owned restaurants, and the big chains? Like I feel like it's a hard.
We can do.
But you
yeah,
care
most
about it
definitely.
more.
We can do what we want. We can operate emotionally. We can operate how we feel. We don't have to worry about corporate rules and political correctness and all that. We just operate. We just do what we do, And like I said, we're one big family. So it's family internally, family externally,
What made you want to open the second Dino's?
My son wanted. He was going to stay in the business, but in all honesty, I had my son. I was 16 years old.
Okay.
There's not much age difference to us. So I took over my dad. My dad, he was about 30 when he had me. So there's a big difference there. So he was ready to step down. I took over. I was not ready to step down.
Right.
My son wanted to run the restaurant.
Right.
We were bucking heads a little bit because he kind of wants to do things his way.
Really?
I can understand that. So, we had a great. It kind of everything lined up. Good friend that had the property got a hold of me and said, I'll make you a deal on the property. And he had of course, you have Casa Olay there, the Mexican restaurant.
Right.
He left a lot of value added, the coolers, freezers, tables, chairs, so you don't have to put that. You don't have to spend $1.5 million opening it up. So we were able to get into there at a pretty good price per se. And I knew my son. He could do the job, and with Dino's name, and Lafayette had grown big enough that south side of town, when we opened the Bertrand location, we were considered the south side. Now we're the demographic central of the city. So the south, everybody knows, Youngsville, Broussard area has grown a lot faster. We were able to get in there for a good price, and I had a built-in operator, and he wanted to do it, so we did, and it turned out well.
You were saying that that's not that outside of the technology and stuff like that. That's not that much difference between Mr. Dean's Dino's and yours. What's the biggest difference between your Dino's and your son's Dino's?
Very, very little. We try
Right.
to operate them very much the same. We have maybe a couple different beers on tap.
Okay.
Just this slight little differences, and I allow him a little leeway. We don't change the recipe, but he may try a different item now and then, and if it works, we both do it. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's not. We try to be the same because people will, that's, South's different. And
Right.
they will have that perception because they've been coming here forever. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll get that, some people, Bertrand's better, but they have fond memories from being here. And then sometimes we get South's better because it's new. So, but basically the recipes are identical. We buy the same food from the same people. Get our deliveries on the same days.
Right. Okay. Well, I remember when I talked to you all those years ago, and before I got my job at Dino's, and you was telling me how far you had traveled. Like pizza has taken you around the world. Where's the farthest pizza has taken you?
I just got back from Ireland last week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but I've been to New Zealand, Africa many times. I'm well traveled. I'm well traveled.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's the most interesting thing you've seen in your Dino journey? I mean, your pizza journey.
I guess in the Far East, pizza with octopus.
Yeah.
And, they when we started doing the Cajun food, it was pretty new to do other than traditional pizza. It wasn't very. That's before Wolfgang Puck came out with his pizzas.
Okay.
And at one point, I remember I had a chicken fresco on a barbecue chicken pizza, and he came out with Wolfgang Pucks, and he says, "Well, I can put anything on a pizza except chicken. I can't do chicken." I'm screaming. I'm like, "Hey, wait! I got these two great chicken pizzas." And, now we have the buffalo chicken pizza even, and we got several chicken pizzas. So, in traveling and seeing food that would be strange, you get a piece of pizza with octopus tentacles and suction cups on it.
Right.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
It's chewy. It's I eat it. I've been known to eat anything, but it's different, man. It's different, So.
Is there anything that you, from your travels, anything that you took from them and you brought to Dino's?
Oh, yeah, every time, not so much the world travels, but pizza convention in Vegas, you go eat it. Anytime you go to a restaurant, you might pick up something. There's no, there's not a whole lot of new foods coming out on the market that people are adapting to, but you might a different presentation of it. So you might have a different burger here and say, hey, that's a pretty good idea. Maybe I'll put that on a special, or just ideas on service, maybe even glassware. A lot. Vegas is very trendy, so we go there a couple of 3 times a year, and pick up on ideas when we go there. And, the restaurant people, it's not like a musician. They create a song, and if anybody even comes close to it, they can sue them, and then you can't touch it forever. Mm-hmm. Chefs make a recipe, pizza guy makes a recipe, and all his competition has it in 6 months, and you don't own it. You can't do anything about it, and that's just something we have to live with and move on. And that's why. But it keeps us on the cutting edge. We got to keep being creative. We got to keep figuring it out. So.
Lafayette seems to be a very family oriented. It seems like Lafayette is a very nice place to be. It's a nice place to live.
I agree.
But I wonder, is competition cutthroat, or is it friendly competition for the most part?
Competition between
the pizza restaurants.
Independents.
Yeah,
we get along well.
Okay.
The independents, the franchises. I can't throw names out here, but I know the guy that owns the biggest franchises in the air, and he eats here. No, I don't know how they feel about me, but I don't feel threatened. I mean, we all got to feed our families. We want to send our kids to school. I just don't want to send yours, and you don't want to send mine.
Right.
So I think we have a competition, and in worst case, you want them, obviously people eating at yours, but I'm not going to bad talk the competition. I mean, people like their product, they like my product. I'm just going to, only thing, take the high road and try to build a product that you're going to like a little better. And that's all I can do.
And you told me one time that one thing you won't do is go on like the Yelps and food restaurant reviewing sites and have your people put in good reviews.
We get a bunch of reviews. I don't want to. I think people can read through that. They can figure that out. So I won't. Don't tell my people, hey, go on there and have a meeting, staff me. Hey, give us all positive reviews.
Right.
Or go to the competition, give them negative. No, man, I don't play, because that karma, it'll bite you in the butt sooner or later. The one thing is maybe, hey, we're doing an event on Facebook, can you share it? That's all positive. But as far as talking bad about the competition or giving yourself an artificial slap on the back, that's like a participation trophy for kids. I don't think it does anybody any good. People are gonna know it. They're gonna know. They know good is good, and we try to. Every once in a while we stub our toe, we mess up. I try to make up for it, but we got a good reputation in town, and I think we put out a damn good product. So
you seem like you don't cut any corners here at Dino's.
No.
Have you ever been tempted, like get this cheaper quality meat or stuff like that?
It's our dough process, Glenn, is so hard. It's a 2-day process, and it's the root of. It's like you can't build a brick building on a bad foundation. In our dough, our crust is our foundation, but it's hard, and we got to train the people. And then the flour gets everywhere in the kitchen. Gets in my air conditioning, man. You go home and you cover flour, so it's in your truck. And,
Right.
And I've been tempted to just go to a manufacturer, say, hey, make me a crust.
Right.
Because it's so easy. I've been in other competition where they don't make their own crust in the restaurants. They don't have the flour everywhere, and it creates with our air conditioning system. We change air conditioning units like every 7-8 years. They should go 20 years.
Right.
You know, and it just creates problems. And I've been tempted, but it's never as good. So I just, but everybody's tempted.
Right.
But yeah, but we stick with it. We stick with it.
You think that would have? You think that makes it cheaper? Would that cut costs, or
we could cut labor costs for sure.
Okay.
We cut labor way down, and cleaning costs and air conditioning costs. Would I make more money if I sold as many pizzas? Yes, but the big question is if I sold as many pizzas, because the product wouldn't be as good. It just wouldn't be as good, and it would be nice. It would make our life much simpler in the operations back of the house. But again, it's one of those things that makes it different. So we just have to work with it. So,
what would you say is your most interesting story, just in-house?
Oh my God.
In this location.
This is a podcast, and probably some family's gonna. So we got
that's
plenty of interesting stories. Man, I don't. Really, you got me on the spot on that one. I can talk all day. I don't know, man. We met a lot of interesting people. We've had interesting times with the people coming through. I don't know. I think just the whole story of Dino's is interesting, and the people I've seen come and go, and I see them in their after Dino's life and the things they've achieved, and for instance, we've got a sports bar, Teeks, on Ridge Road, and there's 3 guys in it. Teeks is an acronym for Tim, Abby, and Kyle Kellner.
Okay.
Now, Abby and Kyle are both these good guys. They're doing great in business, but they're both my former employees.
Okay.
So we're in business together,
Wow.
and when I'm telling you, we're an external family. It just doesn't stop when you leave Dino.
Okay.
We stay in touch, and we're a family. So that, I guess, that's probably not the. I could talk about Christmas parties and things that happen like that. But some people might find it interesting.
Right, you don't want to get in no trouble.
That's right.
Wait, so I didn't know Teeks was yours?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool. So tell a story about that. Like, how did that come about?
Well, we'd owned the property. I owned the property, and I opened L.A. Seafood right before the oil spill.
Okay.
So what it was, there's this new movement of farm to table. This was like Fisherman's Wharf to table. We were just going to do LA seafood. We were just going to do Louisiana Bay seafood, Louisiana shrimp, Louisiana crawfish, Louisiana oysters, finfish. All of us come from Louisiana, and it was going good. We were doing well. Oil spill hit. Mm-hmm. We couldn't buy seafood.
Right.
All the oyster beds got shut down.
Right.
And our char grilled oyster were number 1 seller.
Oh man.
The finfish. We had these great fish dishes on there. Couldn't buy. And people's perception of seafood, they didn't even want to buy crawfish or tilapia. We were buying at the local tilapia farm because they were worried about oil contamination. I'm like, hey, this is a freshwater. They're not even like, yeah, but people just stayed. They wouldn't eat hamburgers. They stayed off of it. So we got crushed, and we tried to switch to like a Brazilian grill a couple nights a week, and it just didn't happen. So we closed it down and had this beautiful property sitting out on Ridge Road. And I said, hey, let's do a sports bar. So we opened a sports bar, and I brought 2 former employees, good friends in, and we called it Teeks, an acronym for our 3 names, and we kept the oysters, about the only thing, because we can get plenty of oysters now, and then burgers and standard pub fare. We got a really really cool menu out there and a cool place, and if anybody wants to watch LSU win this weekend or the Saints come on out, it'd be a good place to do it.
So what I say again? I didn't know you owned that. So what else do you own that?
I've got the 2 Dinos and Teeks, and I got part of a storage facility out in Maurice, Safe and Sound Storage, and just some little businesses like that.
Okay.
But the restaurant business is my main.
All right. Did you ever worry about spreading yourself too thin, or?
No, I'm trying to diversify a little bit to get out of the restaurant business, because it is a young man's business, and I'm getting long in tooth. I'm 53 now.
Okay.
Of course, I don't look it. But,
no, you don't.
And so eventually there's got to be an exit plan, you can't stress with the margin down in the restaurant. I can't think that I'm going to live my lifestyle off the restaurant if I'm not productive in the restaurant. So I need to diversify, and that's what we've done. And it helps for like during downtime from poor economies and stuff like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Who's gonna take over this one? If
Ross sitting over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He seems to be the main.
Well, that's good.
So
that's cool, man. What was like one of your biggest mistakes in Dino's? Like your biggest business mistake and your biggest food mistake?
Biggest business mistake was when I was in my 20s, just taking over, and I was that great pizza cook that I told you earlier. I was a good cook, so that's what I was going to do. I cooked. And I was trying to do everything myself and not running the business, and just about cost me a marriage and my health. I mean, I was just working, and I couldn't. My ankles would swell up. I couldn't get up in the morning. My feet. I had to work. Man, work harder.
What was the hours like?
I took off Sunday mornings.
Okay.
And the rest of the time I worked. That was it. Usually open till close. And we put a couch in the back of the office, and I would take a nap between 2 and 5 in the afternoons, and then get up and run the shift and close the restaurant. And go home and get back up early in the morning, come and start all over. And take Sunday mornings off. And I had a part-time job on Sunday mornings doing.
Oh, really?
Cutting firewood or commercial fishing. So I just worked too hard. I was working harder, not smarter, and you can only do so much. And my income wasn't increasing. I was making pretty good money, but my income wasn't increasing, and so I had to figure out how to be a delegator, how to be a manager, how to be an owner. So that was it. As far as the food, I don't know. We've done a few pizzas that haven't. We do a pizza of the month, right? You're aware of that.
Yep.
And we've done a few that, man, you think this is going to be a solid hitter, and it's not. We had a Thai chicken pizza which had peanut butter on it.
Oh yeah,
I love it, but I'm a peanut butter freak. And that might be one of the biggest. Didn't go anywhere. Didn't go anywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Would you ever invite somebody? Like a Food Network or a cooking channel to come up in here? And
we've had a few.
Oh yeah,
we've had a few. We've been Parade Magazine gave us one of the 10 best pizza restaurants in the nation. We got quite a few national awards. So we've had before Teeks was Teeks, when it was LA Seafood, the History Channel came out. And we did some fried alligator for them, and they proclaimed it to be the best alligator in the nation.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I mean, we've had our share of that, and they're welcome to come on in. We get a lot of local press and our share of national press, and we're very flattered by it and blessed. And if Guy Ferrari wants to come in and do some diner, he's welcome to come back in the kitchen. So, yeah.
You said, speaking of him, you said that you had some pretty interesting people coming in. Who was the most interesting person you had come in your store?
Most interesting person to eat Dino's Pizza?
Yeah.
How about Ronda Rousey?
Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Of course, I had to deliver to her.
Okay. Yeah. How you did that?
I met her through a friend, and we spent a few days together. So, yeah.
That's cool. What's she's like?
Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Did she have anything to say about the pizza? Or?
No, she loved it.
Yeah.
I brought her the Dominator, which is the buffalo chicken pizza, because I know her cheat meal after her fights, her number one cheat meal is hot wings.
Okay.
So we brought her the pizza that kind of tastes like the hot wings. You get your hot wings and your pizza. That's two great food. Yeah. That's right. And she loved it.
Man, that's interesting, man. So you've essentially been running it for about like 35 years, something like that?
Yeah.
And in that time, you've seen people regulars. And have you have anybody that like was here when you started and that still come here a lot? Or
It's customers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yes. We got a group of square dancers that come in on Friday nights after they square dance.
Okay.
Older people, and some of them, God bless their soul, passed on. but that core group still comes in. That group, when me and my wife got married so many years ago, I was just pizza boy in the back before I was running it, and she was a waitress, and they pretty much financed our wedding. We kind of did our own thing, and our parents weren't real happy about us getting married. We decided to get married and just pay it for ourselves, and they pretty much, with the tips every Friday night, my wife waiting on them, and me doing some odd jobs for them and stuff, we pretty much paid for our wedding, and they still come in. And it's nice to see them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Tim, we're gonna wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to say about Dino's?
No, man, just if you haven't tried us, come on, give us a shot.
Simple like that.
All I'm asking. That's right.
Well, I appreciate it, Mr. Tim. Thank you very much for this interview. I told you you're the biggest interview that I've had so far.
You're making my head swell. Thanks, so,
It means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. And that's it, y'all. This is the Aqua Method Podcast, episode 17, with Mr. Tim from Dino's. As always, you can reach me at GrasshopperGP on Twitter. GrasshopperGP at Yahoo is the email. I'm looking for sponsors, so if you have anything you want to advertise, anything you want me to say on the podcast, just let me know. Just send me an email. Any constructive criticism, anything like that. I'm trying to get this bigger and better, and I appreciate everybody who's listened so far. So thank y'all for rocking with me for 17 weeks now. And what else? Oh yeah, and then you're listening to this on Grasshopper GP official on YouTube. That's Grasshopper GP with 3 S's, because when I made the site I couldn't spell. That's GrassHopperGPOFFICIAL. And the Aqua Method Podcast, episode 17 with Mr. Tim from Dino's. Thank y'all for listening. Y'all be good.